I lost my sight saving the man I loved, Alex. For that sacrifice, he left me for another woman, a stand-in who looked uncannily like me. He disregarded the protests of our friends and family and got engaged to her. I'm sorry, he had told me, the words clinical and detached. My wife can't be blind. I didn't fight him on it. I just managed a small, tight smile and wished them well. His voice, when he spoke again, was rough with an emotion I couldn't place. Why aren't you angry? He asked, a note of disbelief in his tone. Didn't you love me more than anything? I told him the truth, or what felt like the truth in that hollowed out moment. I don't feel anything anymore. That night, I heard through the grapevine that he drank until his stomach started bleeding. The following day, he drove his car on the highway with a reckless abandon that nearly got him killed. For my 25th birthday, Alex brought his new girlfriend to my party. The second they walked through the door, hand in hand, a wave of silence washed over the room. So abrupt I could feel the change in pressure. I was, after all, his first love. The girl his own mother had always pictured as her daughter-in-law. Aren't you going to introduce us, Alex? I asked, using my cane to push myself to my feet. I made sure my voice was steady. Alex hesitated, and when he spoke, his words were stiff. This is Chloe. She's my... He trailed off, seemingly unable to settle on a description, or perhaps just unwilling to say it out loud in front of me and all our shared history. It was Chloe who filled the silence. I'm Alex's girlfriend, she announced, her voice bright and full of a kind of bubbly energy that was probably charming to people who didn't know the context. It's my first time meeting all his friends. It's so nice to meet you all. The festive atmosphere in the room, already dampened by their arrival, completely evaporated. Someone near me, a friend trying to protect me, spoke up. Are you serious? Everyone here knows Alex is going to marry Elena. You're just a date. Don't get ahead of yourself. For years, Alex had been seen with different women, but everyone in our circle knew it was a facade, a necessary performance to manage the complicated relationship with his stepmother after his own mom passed away. They all assumed Chloe was just the latest actress in that long-running play. But then Alex did something that shocked everyone. He became furious. I heard the clink of his glass, and then the splash of liquid followed by a surprised yelp. Since when is it your place to comment on my girlfriend? He snarled. Even without my sight, I could perfectly picture the look on his face. His sharp jawline tight with anger, his dark eyes flashing. He was always strikingly handsome, but there was a dangerous edge to his beauty when he was angry. The guy who had spoken sputtered, Alex, what the hell? Before Alex could say more, I heard Chloe's voice again, light and playful. She must have been touching his arm, trying to soothe him. It's not his fault, honey. Your friend was just looking out for Elena. I don't mind. The easy intimacy in their exchange was like a sharp pebble in my shoe, a constant nagging pain. It was only 2 years ago that another one of Alex's dates had confronted me, demanding that I give up my claim to being his future wife. She had barely finished calling me a blind girl who wasn't worthy of him before Alex lost his temper completely, smashing a glass bottle over her head. It was a terrifying display, and none of his other temporary girlfriends ever dared to cross me after that. This was the first time he had ever brought a woman into our circle of friends and defended her so aggressively, especially at my expense. My friend Sarah, sitting beside me, leaned in and whispered, That woman, Chloe? She really does look a lot like you. You don't think he sees her as a replacement, do you? Even though I couldn't see her, I could feel Chloe's eyes on me, a challenging weight in the air. She was clearly not the simple, innocent girl her voice suggested. I dug my fingernails into my palms, the small pain a welcome distraction. I'm blind, Sarah, I scoffed quietly. Not dead. Why would he need a replacement? Our mutual friends had tried to warn me months ago. They'd told me Alex was seeing a B-list actress who bore a striking resemblance to me. Elena, just be careful, they'd said. We had known each other since we were children. Despite his games with other women, I had always believed deep down in his devotion to me. Back then, I had just smiled and waved their concerns away. I trust him, I'd said. Now those words felt like a slap in the face. As the tension in the room thickened, Chloe stepped forward and pressed a box into my hands. You must be Elena. Happy birthday. This is a gift from Alex and me. I didn't hesitate. I let the box fall from my hands, hearing it thud softly on the carpet. I stared into the blackness that was my world and spoke directly to him. Alex, if she is your girlfriend, then what does that make me? There was a heavy pause, and then his familiar voice, colder than I'd ever heard it, cut through the silence. Not just my girlfriend, Elena, he said. I'm going to marry her. A wave of shocked murmurs spread through the room. Is he crazy? Someone whispered. Choosing some unknown actress over Elena? An invisible fist seemed to squeeze my chest, making it hard to draw a breath. Then what am I? I asked again, my voice barely a whisper. In the quiet that followed, Alex let out a short, almost guilty laugh. Elena, my wife can't be blind. We're finished. A wave of dizziness washed over me, and I gripped the back of a chair to keep from falling. You, more than anyone, know why I'm like this, I whispered, the words trembling. 3 years ago, we were caught in an earthquake. A tremor hit while we were exploring an old building, and the structure collapsed around us, trapping us beneath layers of rubble. Waiting for rescue was an eternity. We were weak from hunger and dehydration when I saw it. A heavy steel support beam directly above Alex was shifting, groaning under the weight. It wasn't a conscious thought, it was pure instinct. I scrambled over to him and threw myself over his body, shielding him with my own. The crushing weight of the beam landing on my back was the last thing I felt before everything went dark. The pain was excruciating, but I remember holding on to him, urging him to live. When I woke up, I was in a sterile hospital room. The impact had caused a severe head injury, severing my optic nerves. The doctors explained that surgery was too risky, that there was no guarantee. I was left permanently blind. I remembered Alex sitting by my hospital bed, kissing my bandaged eyes, his voice thick with emotion as he made a promise. Elena, I'll never marry anyone but you. From now on, I'll be your eyes. Now, he was the one who found my blindness unacceptable. I've done everything I can to compensate you financially, Elena. Are you trying to emotionally blackmail me now? Alex's impatient voice snapped me back to the present. The people around us were silent, afraid to even breathe. Only Chloe seemed unfazed, patting his head soothingly as if he were a petulant child. My boyfriend is such an amazing man, she sighed with performative empathy. It's understandable that his ex-girlfriend can't let go and is acting out. With just a few words, she painted me as the hysterical ex. Alex, of course, bought it completely. His tone softened. Elena, if you were just a little more understanding, like Chloe, we wouldn't have ended up in this ugly situation. A profound coldness started in my heart and spread through my entire body. I fumbled for my glass on the table and took a long drink. The alcohol burned its way down my throat and I choked, coughing uncontrollably. People in our circle always said Alex was obsessive and difficult, but they also said he loved me to death, that he had never once raised his voice to me in all the years we'd known each other. For over 2 decades, he had been my confidant, the person I turned to with every joy and every sorrow. I simply could not comprehend it. How could the boy who was the centerpiece of all my memories change so completely? But if this was how it was going to be, I still had my pride. Since everyone is here, I said, my voice gaining strength, let's make this official. My eyes were stinging, but I reached up and unclasped the necklace from around my neck. It was a gift from him on my last birthday, a custom piece from a famous designer. The inside of the pendant had our initials engraved on it. It had been my most treasured possession, a symbol of our love that I never took off. But now, with a calm I didn't feel, I took it off and held it out into the empty space in front of me. Alex, I said, forcing my lips into a gentle smile, despite the gawking and shocked silence from our friends. Congratulations on your engagement. I wish you both the best. Alex, who had probably expected tears or shouting, let out a string of curses and kicked the leg of a nearby table. A frigid tension filled the air around him. Just then, a new voice cut through the strained atmosphere. Looks like I've come at a bad time. Why does everyone look so miserable? The voice was accompanied by the faint, clean scent of sandalwood. I turned my head toward the sound. Daniel, I said, nodding in his direction. You made it. Daniel was the eldest son of the Booth family who used to live next door to us. When we were little, I used to love running over to his house to play. We had lost touch when he went overseas for medical school, but I had always thought of him as an older brother. Long time no see, Elena, he said, his voice warm. Are you sure this is your birthday party? He teased, scanning the room. From the atmosphere, I would have guessed it was Alex's engagement party to some random actress. He placed a clear emphasis on the word random. As expected, it was Chloe who reacted first. Who do you think you are? Do you have any respect for women? She snapped. Daniel ignored her completely, turning his attention to Alex. Is this really how you treat Elena? He asked, his tone shifting to that of a protective older brother. Alex and I had gotten together when we were 18, and we'd hidden it from our families at first. Daniel was the first one to figure it out. He had sat me down for a serious talk about relationships and had made Alex promise to always take care of me. Daniel had been a witness to our entire relationship, someone I considered family. Even Alex had always shown him a certain level of respect. So now, though clearly irritated, Alex offered a clipped explanation. We broke up. It was mutual. Daniel just sneered. Do you actually believe that yourself? This party is over. Elena, I'm taking you home. He didn't bother wasting any more words. He must have seen Alex and Chloe's intertwined hands because he added, We don't need to be in the same room as a heartless bastard. His words made a small smile form on my lips. I tapped my cane on the floor and began to walk towards him. But as I passed Chloe, she stuck her foot out and I stumbled, lurching forward. Elena! Alex yelled, his voice filled with genuine alarm as his hand shot out to steady me. If we're broken up, then act like it, Daniel scolded, swatting Alex's hand away as he firmly caught me, helping me regain my balance. Watch your girlfriend. Normally, if someone had provoked Alex like that, he would have thrown a punch without a second thought. But today, he just stood there, clenching his jaw. I don't take back gifts I've given, he said through his teeth, nodding towards the necklace still on the table. Then throw it away, I said, feeling suddenly exhausted. I turned, walked back to the table, felt for the necklace, and without a moment of hesitation, tossed it into the nearby trash can. The cool night air coming through the open car window helped to loosen the tight knot in my chest. Thank you, Daniel, I said. It meant a lot that he would stand up for me like that, risking his friendship with Alex right after returning to the country. He had left for school the same year as the earthquake. We hadn't seen each other in 3 years. My life had revolved so completely around Alex that my childhood bond with Daniel had faded. I heard your father is into antiques, I said, trying to show my gratitude. My dad just acquired a set of old Chinese teaware. I'll bring it by sometime. Daniel was quiet for a moment, then he laughed softly. Elena, you don't have to be so formal with me. I thought I detected a faint, almost imperceptible note of sadness in his voice. Here, your birthday present, he said, his tone back to normal as he placed a rectangular box in my lap. Thanks, I said. Is this a necklace? I asked jokingly. He replied, Out with the old, in with the new. He didn't laugh, though. He was quiet for a long moment before he asked, his voice gentle. How have you really been these last 3 years? I could feel the air shift as he waved a hand in front of my face. I chuckled. It's true. I can't see. Daniel's fist clenched. If I had known Alex would turn out to be this kind of person. His voice was raw with an anger I had never heard from him before. Daniel was usually so calm and good-natured. It was touching to see him so upset on my behalf. From tonight on, I said softly but with conviction, he and I are really over. From 18 to 25, we had been together for 7 years. I had given that love everything I had, but now that I was letting go, I wouldn't look back. He doesn't deserve you, Daniel said, his voice hoarse. Elena, you should start looking at other people. I assumed he was just trying to comfort me, so I smiled and agreed. By the way, he said, changing the subject as he started the car, you know there's a possibility your eyes could be treated, right? But it's very risky. If the surgery fails, it could cause permanent brain damage. I turned my face towards the window. No matter how wide I opened my eyes, my world was just a uniform darkness. In the 3 years since the accident, my parents had exhausted every connection they had, consulting with specialists from all over. But the prognosis was always the same. I had long since given up hope. Daniel's tone was calm and professional, like the medical student he was. Most of your optic nerves were severed, but recovery isn't impossible. The medical technology here in the country makes it a high-risk procedure. But if we could get a top surgeon from overseas, the odds would be much better. I gave a bitter smile. I know. There's an expert in the US, a Dr. Lisa, but she's retired from surgery. People say she can't be bought at any price. Not necessarily, Daniel said, and I could hear the clever smile in his voice. As luck would have it, I studied optometry, and Dr. Lisa happens to be my mentor. Lying in the hospital bed, undergoing what felt like an endless series of tests on my eyes and brain, my mind was in a haze. Dr. Lisa was scheduled to arrive in the country in 2 weeks, and my parents had already secured a private room for me. Daniel, who worked at this hospital, would often stop by to visit during his breaks. He'd tell me funny stories from when we were kids, and his easy humor often made me laugh out loud. The years of distance between us began to melt away, and sometimes it felt just like it did when we were young, with the one key difference being Alex's absence. On my second day in the hospital, Daniel showed up with a large, fluffy dog. A Samoyed, he announced, a smiling angel. I hope he makes you happy. I was instantly excited. After I lost my sight, I had wanted to get a guide dog, but Alex was allergic, so I had given up the idea. My whole life, I'd had to keep my distance from cats and dogs for fear of getting fur on my clothes and triggering his allergies. This is perfect, I said, petting the dog's soft head. He's so calm. What should we name him? How about Snow? Daniel suggested, his voice light. All right then, Snow it is. Hello, Snow. I'm Elena. Snow brought a new brightness into my dark world. He had some basic training and could act as a semi-guide dog. He loved to lead me down to the grassy lawn outside the hospital, where he'd roll around in the sun and nudge his head into my palm. One afternoon, as we were enjoying the sun, we had an unexpected visitor. It was Chloe. I heard the click of her high heels on the pavement as she approached, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Elena, you rich girls really have it all, don't you? You can even summon a world-famous eye surgeon on a whim. By the way, why did you leave your own party so abruptly the other day? You didn't even take your gift. We put a lot of thought into it. I cut her off, my voice cold. Miss Chloe, you really have a talent for being obnoxious. Her cheerful facade faltered. Do you honestly think that getting your sight back will make Alex come back to you? Keep dreaming. He's completely over you. So that was her game. I almost laughed. Is a man the only thing you can think about? I asked. I heard Alex has spent a fortune on you. You went from being an extra to a B-list actress cozying up with a wealthy heir. The internet is calling you the queen of bad movies. Maybe you should focus on your acting instead of bothering me. Chloe seemed to have assumed I was a pushover because she was stunned into silence for a moment before erupting in anger. Elena, you're nothing but a blind woman. Who are you to lecture me? And for your information, do you know what Alex says about you? He says he's sick of you. That in bed, you're like a log. He says he loves me and he's going to marry me. Her ugly, hateful words felt like tiny needles pricking at my chest. Snow, sensing the tension, started wagging his tail and barking at her. Stupid dog, she muttered. I heard a dull thud as she kicked him. Get away from me, she yelled, kicking him again. Snow yelped in pain, but stood his ground in front of me. A pounding started in my temples. I gripped my cane and swung it hard in the direction of her voice. It connected with her leg. Elena, what are you doing, you crazy bitch? She shrieked, collapsing to the ground. Using the sound of her voice, I swung again, hitting her on the back. How dare you? She screamed. Alex will kill you for this. Why wouldn't I dare? My voice was like ice. You said it yourself, I'm a rich girl. You think I'm afraid of a third-rate actress with no class? Don't test my patience, Chloe, I said, pointing my cane at her, or I'll make sure you get a beating every single time you cross me. The next day, I had Daniel drive me home to pick up some fresh clothes. As he pulled up to the curb, I asked, "Don't you want to come in? My parents would love to see you." Daniel smiled, leaning out the car window. "I have a surgery this afternoon. I'll come visit your parents another time." Daniel might seem quiet, but he was always the most determined one. He never had any interest in his family's business, only in medicine. 3 years ago, he'd had a massive argument with his parents to get their permission to study abroad. I was genuinely happy that he was able to follow his passion. "Okay then, drive safe," I said, waving as he drove off. I held Snow's leash in one hand and my cane in the other and started walking toward my front door. Before I could even take a step inside, a hand grabbed my wrist and pulled me forcefully to the side, dragging me along without any regard for the fact that I couldn't see. "Alex?" I said, recognizing his presence. "What do you want?" He was blocking my path, radiating a tense energy. "This isn't the right place to talk," he said, his voice low. "Come back to my place." The casual way he suggested we go to his place, as if I were still his girlfriend, ignited a spark of anger. I wrenched my arm free. "If you have something to say it here. And let me remind you, we're broken up. We shouldn't be seeing each other." Alex stared at the hand I'd pulled away as if he couldn't believe it. After a long silence, he finally spoke, his tone accusatory. "Elena, are you really this petty? You hit someone just because of a dog?" So, Chloe had gone crying to him. "She just teased you a little," he added. Was it really that big of a deal? I thought back to the woman who had called me blind and how Alex had smashed a bottle over her head for it. I remembered nagging him afterward, telling him to control his temper. He had buried his face in my neck and mumbled, "It is a big deal, Elena. I won't let anyone hurt you." The irony was suffocating. For a second, I wanted to scream at him, to ask him if he even remembered any of the promises he'd made. But then I realized it was pointless. If a person's heart changes, it just changes. No amount of arguing would fix it. I took a step back, putting more space between us. "I couldn't endure it," I said coldly. "And believe me, if you keep this up, my cane might just land on you next." He dragged me into a quiet corner of the yard despite my protests. Just when I thought he was going to defend Chloe again, he leaned down and pulled me into a hug. "Elena, please, just wait a little longer." There it was again. His head was resting on my neck, his warm breath against my skin, just like he used to do. I couldn't help but let out a bitter laugh. He seemed genuinely unstable. Before I could push him away, another person yanked him off me and the sound of a fist connecting with a jaw echoed in the quiet space. "Alex, what the hell are you doing?" It was Daniel. He had come back. The two of them started fighting, though it was mostly Daniel hitting a non-resistant Alex. Snow, startled by the commotion, began barking wildly. "Daniel, stop!" I called out. "I still need my clothes. You need to take me back to the hospital." The aggression immediately drained out of Daniel's posture. He spat out a curse, something I'd never heard from the normally refined Daniel before. It showed just how much he despised Alex now. I chuckled softly. Let's not lower ourselves to his level. My words seemed to diffuse the rest of his anger. "Let's go, Elena." We left Alex there on the ground and walked away. The whole time, Alex didn't say another word, but I could feel his gaze on my back. We were in a secluded part of the neighborhood, and the path was still slippery from the previous night's rain. Seeing me struggle, Daniel offered, "Elena, do you want me to hold your hand?" He immediately seemed to reconsider. "Or, how about this? You give me the cane and I'll guide you." I smiled to myself. That was Daniel. So different from the brash and impulsive Alex. He was always so considerate, so careful not to make anyone uncomfortable. If anyone had seen us then, they would have seen a woman holding the handle of a cane, while a tall, elegant man held the other end, also holding the leash of a large white dog. It was an odd but strangely harmonious picture. Suddenly, I remembered. "Daniel, don't you have a surgery to perform?" He explained that as soon as I'd left his car, He'd seen Alex's car parked down the road and had rushed back, worried. Thankfully, he didn't get a chance to do anything to you, he said, and I could hear the teasing note in his voice. You're much more important than any surgery. A few days later, Alex made a public announcement on his social media accounts, officially confirming his engagement to Chloe. The story of a wealthy heir giving up everything for love with a passionate young actress became a media sensation. Some reporters dug up my name, the forgotten first love, and wrote articles comparing my looks to Chloe's. Alex personally went online to refute the rumors, stating that any resemblance was purely coincidental and that he loved Chloe for her personality, not her face. Daniel was the one who told me all of this. By then, my nerve repair surgery had been a success. My eyes were wrapped in gauze again, but this time my heart was full of hope and anticipation. My mother sat by my bedside, crying with relief as she peeled an apple for me. I always thought Alex was a good one, she sniffled. But look at him, finding another woman before you were even officially over. It just goes to show you Daniel is the best. You two grew up together. In my opinion, you should just get together. I laughed. Mom, please stop trying to set us up. I see Daniel as a brother. Besides, he already likes someone. I couldn't see their faces, so I just kept talking. The other day, I heard a young nurse ask him for his social media, and he told her himself that he couldn't add her. Isn't that right, Daniel? Daniel, who had been listening quietly, seemed startled for a moment. Then he smiled. Your daughter is right, Auntie. I do like someone, which is why I don't give my number to other girls. My thoughts drifted back to Alex and all the women he kept around him. Even though I loved him, it used to bother me. You always say it's just an act, I'd tell him. But what if one day it becomes real? Then what will I do? He would always silence my fears with kisses, whispering in my ear, Elena, you're the only one for me. But the very next day, he'd be back to his games. Snapping out of my reverie, I asked Daniel, so when do we get to meet this girlfriend of yours? He seemed to get lost in a happy memory for a moment before replying, I'm still trying to win her over. I wrote her a lot of love letters while I was away. He added with a serious tone, I haven't won her over yet, but I've already proposed. Both my mother and I were stunned. You proposed before you were even dating? My mom exclaimed. Daniel, you can't rush these things. But he just shook his head. I've waited long enough. I want to be with her as soon as I can. I thought about how long I had waited for Alex. 7 years. I'd hinted about marriage countless times, but he always had an excuse. He needed to secure his position in his father's company to fight off his stepmother. Just wait a little longer, Elena, he'd say. Once I have everything under control, I'll give you the wedding of your dreams. Wait a little longer was his favorite phrase. So what happened? Did she say yes? My mom asked. Daniel looked down for a moment. She hasn't given me an answer yet. Then it's probably not going to work out, my mom sighed. But I had a feeling there was more to the story. The way he spoke about it, he sounded so determined. Daniel, I said sincerely, I really hope you win her over. He let out a soft laugh, his voice unusually gentle. Then I'll take that as a blessing, Elena. The days passed quickly. My mother kept me company, Snow kept me entertained, and Daniel would visit after his shifts to tell me stories. I heard from a couple of nurses that Alex had missed his own engagement party. Was all that romance just a publicity stunt? One of them wondered. I heard a rumor he only did it to provoke his stepmother. The lives of the rich are so complicated. Just then, Daniel walked in with a bowl of washed fruit. The nurses blushed and quickly went back to their work. So there's more to the story, he said to me after they'd left. Elena, will you forgive him? I shook my head, a small smile on my face. Having a reason doesn't make it okay to hurt someone. Daniel seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. Exactly. He could have just talked to you, explained things. Even if the whole thing with Chloe was fake, the pain he caused you was real. You can't forgive him. Even if he gets on his knees and begs, you have to say no. I smiled. Don't worry, Daniel, I won't. My eyesight continued to improve. The day Daniel was scheduled to remove the bandages, my parents both took the day off work to be at the hospital. The long-forgotten sensation of light pierced my eyes. I squinted, and then slowly the world came into focus. I saw the white walls of the hospital room, my parents looking at me with anxious hope, and a fluffy white Samoyed panting happily on the floor. And then I saw Daniel. He was in his white coat, his features sharp and handsome, a pair of silver-rimmed glasses perched on his nose. His eyes, full of a warm, gentle light, were fixed on me. "I can see," I whispered, and my mother burst into tears. "Oh, Elena, that's wonderful," she sobbed. My usually stoic father was pacing the room with excitement. My own eyes filled with tears. 3 years after the earthquake, I could finally see the world again. Daniel smiled. "We'll need to observe you for a few more days, but if everything looks good, you can go home soon." My mother grabbed his hand. "Daniel, you found Dr. Lisa. You cured our daughter. Anything you want, you just have to ask. Your uncle and I, we owe you everything." "Yes," my father agreed. "Our family is forever in your debt." Daniel just waved his hand dismissively. "It wasn't just you who wanted Elena to see again. I wanted it too." My mom nodded approvingly. "You've always treated Elena like your own sister. You've been so good to her." I was so thrilled to have my sight back that I overdid it with my phone. Daniel had to tell me to take a nap to rest my eyes. I had just closed my eyes, pretending to be asleep, when I heard him walk quietly back into the room. He gently tucked the blanket around me and then just stood there by the bed, watching me. I was wondering if he knew I was faking when I felt it, a warm touch on my forehead, there and gone in an instant. I clenched my fist to keep from gasping. Daniel had kissed me. A wild thought flashed through my mind, but I quickly dismissed it. Daniel was always so proper. He knew the boundaries. What did that kiss mean? Even if it was just on the forehead, we weren't siblings. It was the kind of thing that could easily be misinterpreted. And besides, he had told me he was in love with someone else. My mind was a mess. Just as I was debating whether to wake up, the door to my room was thrown open with a bang. Someone stormed in and threw a punch right at Daniel's face. "Daniel, I knew you had feelings for Elena." It was Alex. What was he doing here? I thought he was busy with his family drama. It was impossible to pretend to be asleep now. I sat up and called out, "Stop it!" Alex looked up, his face a mask of shock. "Elena, you can see?" He was wearing a black hoodie and jeans, his handsome features looking worn and tired. It had been 3 years since I had last seen his face. The moment our eyes met, he seemed to forget all about Daniel. He reached a hand out towards me, his fingers trembling. I instinctively flinched back and his hand fell empty at his side. When he looked at me again, his voice was shaking. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Elena. I'm late." "You certainly should be sorry," I said, my voice devoid of emotion. "But there's no point in saying it now." Daniel, one side of his face already swelling from the punch, laughed scornfully. "Alex, how do you have the nerve to even show your face here?" Alex turned to glare at him. "Pretending to be her brother while you're secretly in love with her. You're disgusting." I spoke up coldly. "That's between us. It has nothing to do with you." Then I looked at Daniel, my voice softening. "Go get some ice for your face. I'll talk to him alone." Daniel hesitated, then looked at me with regret in his eyes. "I'm sorry, Elena. I thought you were asleep. I couldn't help myself." I gave him a reassuring smile. "I have a lot of questions for you. We can talk after I'm discharged." Now it was just Alex and me. I picked up a glass of water and took a slow sip. "Whatever you have to say, just say it all now." Alex stood before me, looking lost. "Elena, you saw the news, right? I didn't get engaged to Chloe. It was all a setup." I interrupted him calmly. "Do you really think that one little excuse can erase all the hurtful things you said to me at my birthday party?" "I didn't want to involve you in my problems," he pleaded. "Yell at me, hit me, do whatever you want. But please, Elena, don't look at me with that empty expression." His eyes, which I once loved, started to turn red. "Why aren't you angry? Didn't you love me?" "Love you for what?" I shot back. "For getting tired of me? For calling me a log in bed? None of that was true, he insisted. My stepmother found someone who looked just like you to test me. Everything I said, it was all for her benefit. Elena, you have to believe me. I let out a long, slow breath. Whatever your reasons were, it doesn't matter. I don't have any feelings for you anymore. You're lying, he said, his voice breaking. I know you're just angry. He pulled something from his pocket and held it out to me. It was the necklace, the one with our initials that I had thrown in the trash. He had actually fished it out. Elena, we've known each other for more than 20 years. We were together for 7. You can't just throw that all away. Finally, a crack appeared in my calm facade. A mocking smile touched my lips. 7 years didn't stop you from telling me that a blind woman couldn't be your wife. That night, after I threw the necklace away and walked out of the party, only I knew how much pain I was in. My nails had dug so deeply into my palms that they nearly drew blood. The boy who had been my entire world had, in the end, betrayed me. Alex, I said, this is the last time I'll call you that. The moment you said we were really over. I watched the hope drain from his eyes. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. Finally, he managed to ask, Is it because of Daniel? It has nothing to do with anyone else. Just then, a fluffy white ball of fur ran into the room. Snow, oblivious to the human drama, bounded happily towards me. Alex seemed to see him as a lifeline. He bent down to pet Snow's head. See, Elena, I can be around dogs now. After we get married, you can have as many as you want. Before he could finish, he let out a huge sneeze, which turned into a violent coughing fit. I ignored him, squatting down to scoop Snow into my arms. He doesn't like you, I said flatly. That's all. You should go now. The day after I was discharged from the hospital, my parents insisted we go visit Daniel's family. We brought a car full of gifts, including the antique tea set my father had recently acquired, to thank Daniel properly. In their living room, while our parents chatted, Daniel pulled me aside. Hey, we just finished renovating. Want a tour? Sure, I said, glad for the chance to talk to him alone. He showed me a few rooms before his mother called him to the kitchen to help with fruit. Wait for me in the study, he said, pointing down the hall. I'll be right back. I stepped into the study. It was filled with his father's antique collection. On the large wooden desk was a stack of thick envelopes, their edges yellowed with age. I leaned closer and saw that every single one was addressed to me. Overcome with curiosity, I picked one up and began to read. A wave of emotion washed over me. I couldn't believe it. I pulled out every letter, skimming through them, and came to a stunning realization. They were all love letters written to me by Daniel during his 3 years abroad. I wrote her many love letters, he had said. So these were them. The letters he wrote but never sent. A breeze from the open window swept through the room, scattering the letters across the floor. One of them landed right at someone's feet. I looked up and met Daniel's eyes. His gaze was full of a deep, unwavering affection. I left them there on purpose, Elena, he said softly. I've liked you for a very long time, probably since before Alex. But you said you liked someone else, I stammered. He smiled. It's always been you. Only you. Did you go abroad to study medicine because of me? I asked, my voice hoarse. I majored in optometry. I chose Dr. Lisa as my mentor. From the very beginning, all of it was to find a way to help you. A flash of pain crossed his face. My biggest regret, Elena, is that I wasn't there to protect you during the earthquake. My eyes stung with unshed tears. How could I have been so blind in more ways than one? This kind, quiet man had done so much for me silently, with no expectation of anything in return. He gave me a playful wink. So, Miss Elena, can you give me a chance to officially pursue you? I took a deep breath. Daniel, thank you for everything. I'm sorry, but after everything that's happened, I can't give you an answer right now. But I'm so grateful to have you in my life. It's okay, Elena, he said, his smile as warm as ever. Can I hug you? He looked at me, his hands raising slightly before falling back to his sides. If it's too much, you don't have to. A quote I once read came to mind. I think love is wanting to touch someone but pulling your hand back. I didn't hesitate. I stepped forward and wrapped my arms around him. When I got home, I found the rectangular box Daniel had given me for my birthday. I slowly opened the velvet box. Inside was a silver necklace, but at the end of the chain, instead of a pendant, was a ring. He had proposed to me in his own quiet way. The next evening at dinner, my mom sighed dramatically. Did you hear? Daniel was stabbed by the family member of a patient at the hospital. I dropped my chopsticks. What? Is he okay? When did this happen? In that moment, nothing else mattered. I rushed to the hospital, my heart pounding. You have to be okay, Daniel, I thought. I haven't even said yes yet. But when I got to his office, it was empty. A nurse saw me and asked, Are you looking for Dr. Booth? He's in the VIP room with a new patient. She told me the patient was Alex. He had apparently had a breakdown, crashed his car, and was now temporarily blind from a brain injury. From the slightly open door of the VIP room, I could hear Daniel's voice. He was taunting Alex. It's called karma, Alex. Did you ever think this would happen to you when you were looking down on Elena for being blind? Alex, his leg broken in the crash, could only curse at him. You just want to steal her from me, Daniel. You're no better. You're wrong, Daniel said, his voice softening as he spoke about me. She doesn't have to be with me. I just want her to be happy. And you couldn't do that, could you? Alex fell silent. When Daniel came out of the room, he saw me. Elena, he said, his face lighting up, before his expression fell. Did you come to see him? No, I said quickly. I didn't even know he was here. From inside the room, Alex's voice called out, weak and pleading. Elena, you're here, aren't you? Come in and see me. Does seeing me like this make you happy? I didn't answer. I just gently closed the door. Don't feel sorry for him, Daniel said, worried I would soften. He's just trying to manipulate you. What you said in there, I told him, was perfect. His eyes lit up like a happy puppy. So, does that mean Miss Elena will give me that chance? No, I said firmly. His smile faltered. I stood on my toes and whispered in his ear. You don't need to pursue me. Let's just be together. A warm, quiet understanding blossomed between us. He had become a part of me, someone I couldn't imagine my life without.